All right, so take a look at this map of Germany. Seems pretty standard, right? Familiar cities, familiar names. But what if I told you that hiding in plain sight, in some of its most famous city names, there's a totally different language, a linguistic ghost, really, that tells this forgotten story about who was there first? Okay, let's dive right in with a big one, Germany's capital, Berlin. We're calling this Berlin's swampy secret, and trust me, that's not just for dramatic effect. The secret to where its name really comes from has been right there under our noses the whole time. So, what do you think? What does Berlin actually mean? I mean, the city's flag has a bear on it. The German word for bear is bear. Seems like an open and shut case, right? Well, maybe not. Let's find out. And here is the twist. On one side, you've got the common guess, Bär, the German word for bear. It makes perfect sense, but it's just a coincidence, what linguists call a folk etymology. The real origin, on the other hand, comes from an old Slavic word, burl, which means something completely different, a swamp. So here's how it breaks down. You take the Palabian root burl, that means swamp. Then you add a super common Slavic suffix, in, which just means a location or a place. You put them together, and Berlin literally means the swampy place, which, makes perfect sense given the marshy land the city was first founded on. Now, here's the really cool part. Berlin isn't some weird exception. Finding this out is like finding a key that unlocks a hidden linguistic map, a whole other layer of history, stretching all across Eastern Germany. Exactly. Berlin isn't the exception, it's the rule, or at least the first clue in a much bigger pattern. Once you see it here, you start to see it everywhere. So, who left all these clues behind? Well, it was the Palabian and Sorbian peoples. These were West Slavic groups who settled this whole region way back, long before German speakers began expanding eastward. And it's their language that we're seeing preserved in these place names. And that's what's so incredible. The names we see on a modern map today are basically echoes, linguistic fossils of a language and a culture whose presence has otherwise kind of faded from the landscape over the centuries. Okay, so now that we know what we're looking for, let's learn how to crack the code. I'm going to give you a couple of keys that'll help you spot these Slavic origins for yourself. It's actually pretty simple once you know the trick. All right, our first key to this code comes from a tree you can find pretty much all over Europe, the linden tree. In the old Slavic languages, its name is a major clue. The word you're looking for is lipa. Super simple, easy to remember. Now, let's see where that little word might be hiding on a modern map. And boom, there it is, the famous city of Leipzig. Its name comes directly from the Slavic Lipsk, which just means the place of the linden trees. Once you see the connection between Lipa and Leipzig, you can't unsee it. Ready for another one? This time, let's look for a word that describes the land itself, something fundamental, something that lasts, like, say, a stone. So our second key is kamen, which is the Slavic word for stone. Just keep that sound in your head for a second. Kamen. And here we go. The city of Chemnitz gets its name from an old Slavic word, kamenika, which means stony brook. See, you can hear that root word, kamen, hiding right inside kamenjenica. Okay, so now you can spot clues like lipa and kamen. Now that you have the tools, let's zoom out a bit because you're going to start seeing this pattern everywhere. And this really shows you just how widespread it is. I mean, look at Dresden. Its original name meant people of the riverside forest. Go north to the port city of Rostock. Its name literally means river widening, which perfectly describes its location on an estuary. Schwerin, place of wild animals. And Cottbus is amazing. It's named after a specific person. It was the settlement of a guy named Chakebud. The history is written right there on the map. So this all brings us to the biggest question, right? If these Slavic peoples and their languages were absorbed or faded from this region over time, how on earth did their place names survive for 1,000 years? Seriously, think about it. Cultures shift, empires rise and fall, borders get redrawn, but these specific words for swamps and stones and linden trees, they just stuck. Why is that? Well, the biggest reason is pretty simple. Names for physical features are incredibly stubborn. An abstract idea or a political name can change, but a river, a forest, a marsh, those things are physically there. When new people move in, it's often just easier to adopt the existing name for the landscape, basically fusing that old word to that place forever. Yeah, this quote from the source material nails it.
Hydronyms, that's just a fancy word for river names, and other descriptions of the terrain are especially conservative. In other words, they're some of the last words in a language to change, if they ever change at all. They're sticky.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. A map isn't just a navigation tool, it's an archive. Language works almost like a geological layer, where ancient history is preserved just beneath the surface of the names we use every single day without a second thought. Which really leaves us with one final thought. This whole phenomenon isn't just about Germany. You can do this kind of linguistic archaeology almost anywhere in the world. So the next time you look at a map of your own area, ask yourself, what history is hidden in the names all around me? What stories are they telling?